What really happens in cemeteries? The spiritual truth about lost souls and guardians. The perspectives and spiritual concepts presented in this video reflect various esoteric, metaphysical, and religious traditions from around the world. They are offered for educational and spiritual exploration purposes. Viewers are encouraged to explore these ideas within their own belief systems and frameworks. If you are experiencing depression, anxiety, or other mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified healthcare professional. Have you ever wondered what really happens in the silence of cemeteries, long after the mourners leave? Not just the physical reality, but the unseen spiritual journey that continues beyond death? Among the many layers of human experience and spiritual understanding, there is a place where, according to many esoteric and religious traditions, the barrier between the material and spiritual dimensions becomes unusually thin: cemeteries. But it's a common misconception to believe these grounds are simply the final stop for our physical remains. In many spiritual traditions around the world, from Spiritism to various forms of Buddhism, Hinduism, and indigenous beliefs, cemeteries are understood as significant energetic spaces. They're described as intersections, where the spiritual and material dimensions converge in unique ways. The energy that accumulates in these places, according to these teachings, doesn't come solely from the act of physical death. It's deeply influenced by how we, the living, relate to life, death, and everything in between. And unfortunately, that relationship is often shaped by fear, denial, and attachment to material existence. According to these spiritual frameworks, behind every well-maintained headstone and bouquet of fading flowers, there exists another presence, those who, it's believed, never truly moved on. Spirits who, even after their physical bodies have expired, are thought to linger near their earthly remains, unable or unwilling to let go. This often stems from a lifetime of strong material attachment. When someone has lived completely grounded in the physical realm, pursuing possessions, appearances, and status, spiritual traditions suggest they may struggle to recognize or accept the spiritual transition that comes with death. One phenomenon discussed in many esoteric traditions is something known as ideoplasty, the concept that thoughts shape the subtle body or spiritual form. When a spirit, according to these teachings, refuses to accept they've passed on, they unconsciously project their beliefs about the physical body onto their own non-physical form. What begins as denial, spiritual teachers suggest, can become a deeply limiting internal reality. Their spiritual form, in this understanding, begins to take on qualities that reflect their thoughts, appearing aged, diminished, or weakened, not because of external punishment, but because consciousness shapes non-physical experience. What results, according to these traditions, is a metaphorical image of spirits existing in states of confusion and disorientation. Many spiritual teachings suggest these souls don't fully understand their new state. They may still feel sensations associated with physical existence: coldness, hunger, the need for shelter. Their minds, it's believed, may be caught in loops of sensation, continuing to replicate the needs of a body they no longer inhabit. Through ideoplasty, the concept that thought shapes form, their own beliefs sculpt their experience. For those who are deeply attached to their physical appearance in life, spiritual traditions teach that the transition can be particularly challenging. People who lived for the mirror, for maintaining youth, for the pursuit of physical beauty, traditions suggest they may experience profound disorientation. "I worked so hard for this body," their consciousness might cry out. "How can this be my reality now?" Their pain, according to these teachings, becomes intensified as they witness their beloved physical form no longer existing. Some spiritual practitioners describe these souls as experiencing vivid loops of suffering, generated by their own refusal to release physical identity. This is described as being especially intense in younger souls, those who believed they still had much time ahead. To them, death was not part of their plan. They were not ready, and now, rather than moving forward in their spiritual evolution, they cling to an idealized version of themselves, caught in cycles of confusion. Some spiritual teachings suggest that desperate souls, in their confusion, attempt to reconnect with the physical plane, not literally, but through denser layers of the astral or spiritual dimension. They search, they reach, they seek their old bodies, driven by panic and the inability to comprehend their new reality. The imagery is metaphorical, but the suffering described in these traditions is understood as very real. These souls, according to spiritual frameworks, may enter zones of heavy vibration, where emotion overwhelms reason and the light of higher consciousness feels unreachable. But it's not just confusion and fear that populate these spiritual realms. According to many traditions, there is something else described in esoteric teachings. Souls suffering in these states are extremely vulnerable. In their weakened and disoriented state, they may become susceptible to negative influences or lower vibrational entities. There are forces, according to spiritual belief systems, that operate with harmful intent, that manipulate pain, and that turn spiritual suffering into a form of control. We'll explore those darker forces and the powerful protectors who work against them in the next section. But before we go deeper, are you beginning to see cemeteries in a new light? But the unseen battle doesn't end there. What if I told you that cemeteries are also spiritual battlegrounds, where forces of light and shadow are believed to collide? In the invisible spaces between graves and shadows, according to many spiritual and esoteric traditions, not all who are disoriented are simply confused by accident. Some spiritual teachings describe negative entities or lower vibrational forces that operate with deliberate harmful intent. While many souls trapped in spiritual confusion are simply lost, spiritual traditions across cultures describe scenarios where suffering souls become targets for darker forces. This isn't presented as mythology in these teachings. It's part of the cosmology described in many religious and esoteric systems, where different vibrational levels operate according to spiritual law. According to these spiritual frameworks, there exist what various traditions call negative thought forms, lower vibrational entities, or beings that operate with harmful intent. They exist in what can only be described in esoteric terms as lower spiritual dimensions or planes. These beings, according to spiritual teachings, don't work alone. Their operation, it's described, is driven by lower vibrations and selfish intent. Cemeteries, especially those carrying heavy emotional weight or spiritual disharmony, are understood in these traditions as spaces where such influences may be more active. These entities, spiritual traditions suggest, seek out the spiritually vulnerable, those who have not yet detached from their physical identity and may exploit their emotional instability. One significant concept in spiritual traditions is the existence of ectoplasm, a term used in Spiritism and other metaphysical systems to describe a dense spiritual energy associated with the transition between life and death. According to these teachings, this substance remains within the energetic body for a period after physical death, carrying the emotional and spiritual imprints of the life that just ended. In various spiritual cosmologies, this substance is understood to be of interest to lower vibrational entities, not as a real-world currency, but as a concept representing how lower forces may attempt to exploit the disoriented. Some spiritual traditions describe these negative forces as appearing in various forms, sometimes as thought forms shaped by the energy they engage with, sometimes in ways that reflect their nature. According to spiritual teaching, entities operating from lower vibrations may bind confused souls to the living world or to other incarnated people. Once connected in this understanding, they may drain a person's vital energy over time. Practitioners of various spiritual disciplines associate this with feelings of unexplained exhaustion, low mood, or general malaise. However, if you are experiencing persistent depression, anxiety, fatigue, or other health concerns, consulting with a qualified healthcare professional is essential to rule out physical or psychological causes. It's in this described cosmic setting that an extraordinary group of spiritual protectors is understood to play a critical role. The guardians of the sufferers, often misunderstood due to their appearance in spiritual traditions. These beings are described in various esoteric systems as luminous presences, consciousness devoted to assisting lost souls and confronting negative forces. In spiritual traditions, particularly in Spiritism and esoteric Christianity, these guardians are sometimes described with features that may seem fearsome: skeletal forms, intense presences, or appearances that resonate with the heavy vibrations of lower astral planes. But according to these teachings, their appearance is not meant to instill fear. Instead, their form is understood as their uniform, a way of matching the vibration of the space they work in, allowing them to effectively navigate and assist in the densest spiritual environments. These guardians, according to spiritual traditions, are not simply warriors or judges. They are understood as spiritual counselors, helpers, and healers. They walk among the disoriented and lost, attempting to awaken awareness within confusion. They work to dissolve the limiting thought patterns that keep souls trapped and guide the suffering toward healing and recovery in higher spiritual dimensions. Their mission, as described in these traditions, is incredibly difficult. But without such protectors, many spiritual traditions suggest that lower planes would become unrestricted fields for negative influence. When a guardian arrives, according to spiritual teaching, they begin by helping the soul release the limiting beliefs that plague their consciousness. If a soul believes itself to be decayed or diminished, the guardian slowly lifts that perception. If it's lost in cycles of panic or despair, the guardian intervenes with calm, radiating the kind of clarity that comes from higher consciousness. In many cases, these beings are understood to operate in silence, communicating through presence and intention, because words alone aren't always sufficient to reach deep spiritual confusion. But the role of these guardians, according to spiritual traditions, doesn't stop at rescue and healing. They also serve as a spiritual defense system, confronting negative influences, disrupting harmful patterns, and protecting spiritual spaces from contamination. Through these efforts, many spiritual traditions teach they prevent much suffering that might otherwise manifest in the world of the living. Some people wonder why cemeteries are even necessary, why we bury the body, why we maintain these spaces, why the rituals of honoring the dead matter at all. According to various spiritual teachings, the answer is profound. The spiritual vibration of a cemetery reflects the consciousness of the community around it. When the living remember the dead with love, peace, and gratitude, the space is believed to maintain a higher vibration. When fear, guilt, or denial dominate, spiritual traditions suggest the energy sinks lower. But even the most troubled cemetery can become a point of healing when spiritual helpers are understood to be present, and when the living approach these spaces with reverence and love. And now I want to ask you something, not because I have to, but because this is about more than views or numbers. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, consider subscribing to the channel. This is a space where we explore spiritual traditions and esoteric wisdom without fear, without dogma, and without needing to sensationalize the sacred. And if you're still with me, I want to invite you to share something in the comments. Have you ever felt a particular energy or presence in a cemetery? Have you had a dream, a strange experience, or even a story passed down through your family that made you question what happens after death? Share it below, not just for me, but for everyone who might be feeling the same and looking for understanding. Let's keep this dialogue alive and help each other explore these deep mysteries together. Not all who wander are lost forever, but some souls need guidance and compassion to find their way toward healing and light. Even in the deepest spiritual disarray, where confusion is thick and suffering echoes through the unseen realms, according to many spiritual traditions, there is hope. The rescue and healing of disoriented souls, as described in esoteric teachings, is not a dramatic event filled with noise and spectacle. It's often a silent and sacred process, woven through compassion, energetic alignment, and spiritual intention. The guardians described in spiritual traditions continue this mission constantly, often without recognition from the physical world, acting as beacons in the densest spaces. Their task, according to these teachings, doesn't end at helping a soul recognize and release limiting beliefs. After the spiritual ties to the old identity are gently severed and the limiting thought patterns are dissolved, the disoriented soul must begin a delicate journey of reintegration and healing. Imagine awakening to the realization that what you believed to be your reality was shaped by your own consciousness, and feeling all the accumulated pain of that journey. That's the emotional state of many souls in these transitions, according to spiritual teachings. Some cry, some resist, and some simply collapse from the shock of finally comprehending their new reality. That's when what various spiritual traditions describe as healing centers or spiritual hospitals come into the picture, facilities that are understood to exist in higher layers of the spiritual dimension, where recovery and growth are possible. These places, in spiritual cosmology, aren't made of material substance, but of vibrational essence, shaped by the consciousness of those dedicated to love, truth, and healing. Here, according to these traditions, disembodied souls are understood to be welcomed with tenderness and care. They're examined not physically, but spiritually, through the understanding of their thoughts, their emotional wounds, and their levels of consciousness. In these spiritual facilities, according to esoteric traditions, a team of helpers, ranging from incarnated healers in deep meditation to spiritual guides, work to assist these beings in their recovery. Some souls, in this understanding, stay for extended periods, undergoing what spiritual traditions describe as vibrational therapies, energetic cleansings, and guided reflection. In certain cases, the trauma is understood to be so profound that it takes time across lifetimes to fully heal. But the first step, the one that matters most, is always the same: removal from the toxic environment and the awakening to truth. There is something deeply moving, according to many spiritual perspectives, in the understanding that no soul is ever abandoned. Even in places as often neglected or feared as cemeteries, according to these teachings, there are luminous presences walking among the suffering, not just to protect them, but to remind them of their inherent dignity, their light, and their right to evolve. The guardians described in spiritual traditions embody this promise of redemption. They may appear fearsome to those who don't understand their purpose, but to the lost and suffering, they represent the first glimpse of salvation. And it's not just in cemeteries, according to these teachings. These protectors are understood to work in hospitals, in spaces of tragedy, in disaster zones, wherever souls transition with confusion or fear. Their appearance changes to fit the vibration of each environment, but their essence remains constant. Beings who have chosen difficult spiritual work, operating in the densest and most challenging realms, because that's where compassion and assistance are most urgently needed. They are not superior to us. Many of them, according to spiritual tradition, have lived lives of their own suffering and courage. They understand the weight of existence, and that's why they serve with such dedication. You may wonder, how can I help? And the answer, according to many spiritual traditions, isn't complicated. Every time you think of someone who has passed, send them light and love. Speak their name with affection, not grief. Avoid clinging to the image of their physical body or their death, because that fixation, according to spiritual teaching, can pull their consciousness into lower states. Instead, visualize them whole, free, embraced by light and love. This simple gesture, done with sincerity, is understood in many traditions to have power, opening spiritual doors and supporting their evolution. Another powerful practice, according to spiritual teachings, is approaching cemeteries with respect and reverence. Visiting these spaces with a peaceful heart, offering a silent prayer or moment of love, can help raise the vibration of that place. Many spiritual traditions teach that guardians work in collaboration with the living, even if we're unaware of it. When you walk among graves with reverence and presence, according to these teachings, you're doing more than honoring the dead. You're helping to support healing and spiritual harmony in that space. As we close this exploration, I want to leave you with an understanding shared across many spiritual traditions. The dead are not truly gone, and the living are not fully alone. We coexist across dimensions, through memory, through love, through the continuity of consciousness. The boundaries between the worlds are understood in these traditions, not to frighten us, but to remind us that we are part of something vast and extraordinary. Life continues, consciousness evolves, and no one, no matter how lost, is ever beyond the reach of light and compassion. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not just for watching, but for opening yourself to perspectives that many people are too afraid to explore. If this message touched you, helped you, or gave you a new way of thinking about life, death, and our spiritual nature, I invite you, with genuine warmth, to subscribe to this channel. But more than that, become part of this community. Tell us in the comments, have you ever had a spiritual experience in a cemetery or near a place of burial? A dream, a strange feeling, or even a story passed down through your family? What did you feel while watching this? What new understanding did you gain? This is not just a channel, it's a community of seekers and explorers, people who dare to ask deeper questions and embrace mystery with humility and openness. Let's grow together, let's learn from each other, and above all, let's support one another through this vast, extraordinary journey of being conscious, evolving beings in a multidimensional universe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for exploring the sacred mysteries with an open heart.
Disclaimer for YouTube description and opening. The perspectives and spiritual concepts presented in this video reflect various esoteric, metaphysical, and religious traditions from around the world. They are offered for educational and spiritual exploration purposes. Viewers are encouraged to explore these ideas within their own belief systems and frameworks. If you are experiencing depression, anxiety, or other mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified healthcare professional.